Hi, this is Shadi, and today it's gonna be about the age-old feud between the stand-up game and the ground game. So, you see, judo being such a vast martial art of nage waza, kata, atemi waza, and the vast world of ne waza of positions and submissions and pins, joint locks, chokes. So it's very natural that you would see people gravitate towards aspects at the expense of other aspects. So this story is the beginning of this feud that we are still having till this day. Um, you had the father of Kodokan Judo, Jigoro Kano himself, and Tsunetane Oda, two having different visions for judo. You had Jigoro Kano, that's someone that believed a lot in the stand-up and Nagewaza, complemented with Ne Waza, and you had um, Tsunetane Oda that was more focused on competition aspect, winning, and really crafting Ne Waza at the expense of everything else. And these two had conflicting visions, and this story highlights this story of this feud that's still going on till this day, like I said. So the story is the beginning of this feud. It's a historical battle between Tokyo High School and Sendai High School in 1918. So this is a story back when Tsunetane Oda's team was still reigning champion. If you don't remember, they were dethroned around 1922. So this is 4 years prior. Kanemitsu did not even arise to the scene of Kosen Judo. So it was just Tsunetane Oda as the lord of Ne Waza, taking on after people like Hajime Isugai and all the other groundmasters that came before him. So the story goes is that you had this very fierce rivalry between Tokyo and Sendai High School, and it was so fierce and so serious that Oda would even send students to Tokyo to try to spy through the windows, watching the Tokyo students train. But the Tokyo students would close the curtains of the dojo. They would even sneak into the laundromat as if they are trying to wash their gis and sneak a peek at the training of the Tokyo students. So he was heavily favoring Ne Waza in his training, and Tokyo was heavily linked to the Kodokan branch of Tokyo, which was linked to Jigoro Kano, and they were all about Nagewaza with Ne Waza. So the competition went on, and all the Oda students, they pulled guard immediately. They did not even engage in the stand-up, and eventually they ended up winning. It was team format, so team against team, and this really caused Kano to be sort of outraged and says that what is a good system, or what is my system worth if the non-black belts were beating first dan and second dan. And he stated that this is not a game or a system that you can win by any means just for the sake of winning a tournament, mainly saying that this is not a place to win in a very Machiavellian fashion, or do any but win by any means, even though if you're not the better grappler. So this caused a real outrage, and this was what caused this feud. So this was the loss of the Tokyo High School, and Jigoro Kano stated that you should not use solely Ne Waza in order to fight or compete, because he gave the age-old argument, which I tend to agree with. He says that if you immediately go into Ne Waza, you're gonna get hit in a street fight, and you're putting yourself in a very terrible position. So it was so much so Ne Waza that Oda even eliminated the practice of Tachi Waza in order to maximize his Ne Waza skills, because if you watch this, you would see that he was just way ahead of his time compared to the years of ground grappling, the Gracies, etc. You can see all sorts of weight shifting, transference, guard pulling, escapes from positions, sweeps. You would see that this footage you are seeing here in front of you was way ahead of its time, and it was at the expense of the stand-up aspect. So he was trying to do the same for his students. And Kano says that the basis of judo is Tachi Waza, and all the techniques, they should be starting from the Tachi Waza and then finished in Ne Waza with good control and good technique. So he was basically referring to the transition of the stand-up into the ground and maintaining all control for the purpose of self-defense. Because keep in mind, Jigoro Kano comes from old jujutsu schools that were still in the how do you say, the presence of like real battle, self-defense, wartime, etc. And you had Oda, which is far younger, and he comes from the era of after the Meiji Restoration, and everything was just a friendly competition between schools. So they had different ideologies based on their different generations. So, and he even called guard pullers cowards for not engaging in the stand-up. So he was more into the old traditional ways of judo, of self-defense, while Oda was clearly showing signs of taking the discipline or the art more into the sports aspect. So he was heavily criticized by Kano. So Oda decided to write an article for the Chiokoron magazine for the high school. He says that he called it The Reform of Judo the Way I See It, or in French, La Réforme du Judo à mon avis, or How to Reform Judo in My Opinion. It was published on December of 1918, and this article presents the idea of judo according to Tsunetane Oda himself. So in a way to respond to the critiques of Kano, and he was saying that this is the time for invention and being genuine and being creative. He was defending the sports randori, and also talking about really crafting Ne Waza, because this is a time for something else. And so he was basically going more into the sports aspect or the competition aspect rather than thinking of self-defense. The fight starts standing, so on and so forth. He was thinking that I will do whatever it takes, craft my technique in order to beat any team. So he was thinking more into the competition aspect, as I mentioned. So in 1919, just a year later or a few months later, you had Takeshi Sakuraba, one of the best students of Kano. He wrote a thesis to refute the article of Oda, and then Oda republished another article discussing the points of Sakuraba, and this went on for a while. Now, as you know, that Oda was a very much accomplished judoka. He wasn't just all Ne Waza. The fact that he reached 9th Dan speaks volume, that he knew everything from kata, stand-up, etc. But when it came to winning judo and keeping his school a champion, it was all about Ne Waza. So they say that he never gained his 10th Dan because of this particular feud, but he passed away, I believe, like somewhere after Kano, decades after Kano, actually. So I doubt that this had anything to do with this feud that's dates back to 1918. I don't know, possibly, but nonetheless, it was after World War II that he passed away. And here you see the footage in front of you. He shot it when he was 9th Dan, so way later into his career. So I'm not sure if it's like a grudge or anything. But regarding this feud, when it comes to Kano, I believe he is right. Every fight starts standing, and you complement it with ground control. Even if judo just became transitions and there's no Ne Waza Randori anymore, I would always choose judo over BJJ. And before you call me a fanboy like you normally do, or biased, I'm saying this because that's what happens on the street. This is literally what happens. You're not gonna be playing guard. Michael Bisping said to that little kid, they were basically mocking him. Don't play guard on the street. Never play guard on the street. So on and so forth. Pulling guard also is a big no. Robert Drysdale even says that it's time to start penalizing guard pulling, etc. So when it comes to self-defense strictly, I will always choose judo. This feud has been going on till this day. In my comment section is very prevalent. So, for example, you had the judo guy. It says that I'm one of the best at takedowns, and our takedowns are matched by no other. We drill them religiously, hundreds and hundreds of repetition. Hence, it's a little bit at the expense of Ne Waza, but that's what matters: is good control with grip fighting and a good takedown, and you manage to control someone on the ground with top game. And then you have the BJJ guy saying that, oh, but if we went up against you, you're gonna be tapped out because you cannot maintain a position or pass guard, so on and so forth. And then the judo guy will say, well, in Europe it's different. For example, last year the national Ne Waza competition of which was hosted by the Judo Federation, it was mixed of judo and BJJ. All the podiums or the medalists were mixed, weight categories, etc. They were all mixed between BJJ and judo. So clearly, judo still holds its place when it comes to the ground game, at least here in France. I don't know about the US or Canada, but I'm saying here in France, at least, we still hold our own when it comes to the ground. So it's, in my opinion, when it comes to sports, that's everyone's preference. I want to compete in more of throwing. You can do that. You want to compete in the ground, you can do that. But when it comes to really like self-defense, you have to know your takedowns. John Danaher specifically did this new series, Feet to Floor, for this particular reason. He said that judokas are killers in the stand-up, and I quote, and competent, very competent on the ground, while BJJ are killers on the ground and incompetent in stand-up. So, and he says that when it comes to street fighting, it's takedowns are a necessity, and you can be a world champion in jiu-jitsu and not knowing a single takedown. But when it comes to street or fighting jiu-jitsu, takedowns are a necessity. So, I know that they teach double legs and single legs in jiu-jitsu, and I've been to jiu-jitsu class, but the way they drill them compared to judo is nothing. You're gonna learn that it's incredibly hard to pull it off, because in judo we drill it like hundreds and hundreds of repetitions each session, and then we go into randori, which are mixed of Ne Waza and Tachi Waza. Same with wrestlers. Look at how wrestlers drill their takedowns, their body lock takedowns, their double legs. They drill them religiously and then go into the ground game. But if you're doing specifically ground game and like 95% is ground game, of course you're gonna have the best ground game. It's gonna be so sophisticated, like the Oda stuff you see here in front of you. But never forget that you have to defend yourself. You can be the best competitor, but you have to defend yourself. In my opinion, listen, neither of approach are complete. You cannot be the best stand-up and ground grappler according to Kano's vision, and you cannot be the same with Oda's vision. If you have Oda strictly teaching you Ne Waza, even though he knows everything, because he wants you to win, he's doing harm and also good. He's harming you because he's taking away your takedown capabilities just so he can win team tournaments. BJJ, the same thing. They want to win against other arts, but they are sacrificing the takedown in the process. So no martial art is perfect, but for me, for my needs as someone who saw street fights, who saw people pull out knives, who saw people beat each other up, ran each other with their cars every day when he went out of school, I will always choose judo, because this is what you will need, at least in open hand fighting, no weapons, etc. It's judo in my opinion, and I will always choose it. So if you have anything else to add about this never-ending feud, let me know down below. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. I have exclusive content just for the patrons. And also your support would mean a lot because I work on a daily basis for this channel, so your support would mean a lot to me. So if you have anything else to add, please let me know down below. This was Shadi, and thank you for listening.